So today I'm going to walk you through what's new on the 2020 1040, and we come right from the IRS instructions. Um, it's the easiest way to see the basics of what's new for this tax year. This is just a small piece of overall tax legislation that's been passed in the last year, but I thought it'd be helpful to kind of see what we're looking at from a tax professional side. The first thing, as you might guess, is those stimulus payments, otherwise known as the economic impact payments. This form initially was the EIP. Now we've got EIP 1 and 2 on the instructions form. So it just states here, any economic impact payment you receive are not taxable for federal income tax purpose, but they reduce your recovery rebate credit. It's a very important thing to kind of distinguish those. The recovery rebate credit is exactly what you should get based upon your eligibility. So essentially, if you've gotten your economic impact payment and it was the full amount of the rebate credit, you won't get any additional amount. But if they missed something, or you added a dependent, or your income changed and would qualify you for more, this is where we reconcile that amount to be able to get that additional payment right on your taxes, which is also a great reason, if you're waiting for these, to come in and see us early. That way we can get these filed for you ahead of any rush or problems with the IRS. So next, right here, recovery rebate credit. This credit is figured like last year's economic impact payment, except eligibility and the amount of the credit are based on your tax year 2020 information. It says see the instructions for line 30 and the recovery rebate credit worksheet to figure your credit amount. Because most of the, all of the economic impact payments were either figured on your 2018 or your 2019 if filed. So your amounts can change here. Other taxpayer relief. The recent legislation provided certain tax-related benefits, including the following. Election to use your 2019 earned income to figure your 2020 earned income credit. You can see those specific instructions for line 27. That's important because earned income is wage income or business income. If you were on unemployment in 2020, as many people were since we were under the pandemic conditions, you might have had the same earnings or the same income, but since some of that was from unemployment, it wouldn't have qualified for the earned income credit. So if that's something that you had qualified for in past years, now you're able to do a look back to 2019 to make sure that you are getting the most earned income credit that you're entitled to based upon the law. You can also elect to use your 2019 earned income to figure your 2020 additional child tax credit. Again, the same principle as the earned income tax credit before. Also, the educator expenses include amounts paid or incurred after March 12th for personal protective equipment, disinfectant, and other supplies used for prevention of the spread of coronavirus. So it kind of expands what all qualifies under those educator expenses. Again, a very important piece of legislation that was passed to help teachers out, because those teachers and educators have spent a lot of time and effort to make sure that everybody stays safe, and this is just one more piece of legislation to help there. If you are impacted by certain federally declared disasters, special rules may apply to distributions from your IRA, profit sharing, or retirement plan. Those may have included distributions that were not subject to 10% penalty. They may have also been the changes in the required minimum distribution, or potential for not requiring those this year. Again, if those are questions that you might have or been subject to, let us know when you come in. We'll happily see how that applies best to your situation. Also then, on the form 1040 non-resident, it was revised to come closer to the 1040 and 1040 senior. That includes adding those schedules 1 and 2. Also changes where the estimated tax payments are now reported on line 26. They were prior reported on Schedule 3, line 8, but they're going to move to the 1040 and 1040 SR, line 26. Additionally, there was legislation for charitable contributions to be not only itemized, but also you can potentially take them on 10B. There's additional instructions. You may be able to take up to $300 on that line. There's the change to the standard deduction. Typically, that is marked, towards inflation. That has the 2020 standard deduction has increased for all filers. Single and married filing separately is up to $12,400. The married filing jointly or qualifying widow or widower is up to $24,800, and the head of household standard deduction moves up to $18,650. Kind of a hot topic now is virtual currency, cryptocurrency. So if in 2020 you engaged in a transaction, not many transactions, a transaction involving virtual currency, we will need an additional disclosure from you. There's an answer right on page 1 of 1040 asking about virtual currency. So this is going to be a hot topic from the IRS. They've pushed these new tax regulations out, making sure that they're collecting the proper amount for virtual currency transactions. The deductible IRA contributions, you no longer need to be younger than 70 and a half to take a deduction for your contributions to an IRA. Again, as things change, we always want to be aware of them. Things that have been out there for years now no longer are. So just always want to stay on top of things. Coronavirus tax relief for certain individuals. The COVID Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, the CARES Act, permits certain individuals who file Schedule SE or Schedule H to defer payment of 50% of the Social Security tax imposed for the period beginning on March 27, 2020 and ending December 31st of 2020. So, if you're subject to that, it could be a potential place where, we can, maybe not lower your tax, but defer based upon your situation. So if you, come into a cash crunch or COVID has affected your business, these are potential places where, we want to look to see, does it make sense to take advantage of this, or are we good kind of going as we have in the past? The credits for sick and family leave for certain self-employed individuals. So the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, FFCRA, helps self-employed individuals affected by coronavirus by providing paid sick leave and paid leave credits, equivalent to those that employers are required to provide their employees for qualified sick leave wages and qualified family leave wages paid during the period beginning April 1st, of 2020 and ending December 31st of 2020. Again, we'll see if this applies. If you had any situations where you were impacted and needed to take leave. So these are places to kind of look and be aware. There's going to be a lot more questions this year during tax preparation. We just want to make sure that we help our clients out with every piece that's available. We'll also, one of the very exciting things is the Form 1040X, the amended U.S. Individual Income Tax Return, has started to be accepted electronically. This is great because even as recently as November, it was estimated that there were over 1 million returns still waiting in trailers to be processed by the IRS. So the IRS was shut down just like everything else due to COVID, and this will provide one way to, I don't want to say jump the line, but be more efficient in filing any amended returns you might have. So this will be 2019, and hopefully additional years will be added in the future. So just things to be aware of if you need to amend a prior year return. Schedule LEP, that's a new form that we've come across. It allows for your preference in receiving written communications from the IRS in a language other than English. So if English is not your native language, or you communicate better in other languages, this is a form that's important to file, so that the IRS can communicate with you, on the terms that are best for you. And then finally, this is really just finally so far this year, because who knows what legislation will come out. But Schedule D tax worksheet. If you are filing Form 4952, and there are amounts on either lines 4E or 4G, you must use the Schedule D tax worksheet and the instructions for Schedule D to figure your tax, even if you don't need to file the Schedule D. I just wanted to kind of bring you, these are changes just on 1040 for tax year 2020. If you made it all the way through this, I appreciate it. But I always want to try to put as much out there, what we're seeing from tax professional side, just so that you kind of know, what questions you might ask, or be asked while we're preparing your tax return. So again, appreciate you listening, and if you find this useful, helpful, like it, share it, subscribe. We're trying to do what we can so that we make sure to get the most out of the tax law for our clients. So thanks again, and talk to you soon.